boots with a fur. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the floor, the next thing you know, shawty got low, 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 low.
Let's get this mother crunk!
Baggy sweatpants, Reeboks with the straps.
Oh yeah!
She turned around, gave that big booty a slap.
Yeah!
She hit the floor, the next thing you know, Shawnee got low, 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 low. I'm into that, I love those women exposed. Shawnee got low. Shawty got low. Shawty got low.
Broadcasting live from the Free Speech Studio.
What?
Broadcasting live from the Free Speech Studios. Deep within the city of Fantom, with over 4 years of satisfying the curious mind and looking damn sexy while doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, Fantom Facts Society.
Welcome to Fantom Facts. I am Mike. Welcome to Fantom Facts, everybody. Here with my co-host of many years, Renee. Hey, hi.
Oh, howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Howdy. What's that? It's the jazz, sexy music in the background. I couldn't hear it. Couldn't hear you.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving, buddy?
I did. How was yours?
Good. It was wonderful.
Did you get stuffed?
Yeah. Naomi's mother baked us a delicious apple pie. That was just, it was like traditional 1930s, but they hadn't gone through the Great Depression type of apple pie. Just,
You didn't American Pie ruin the apple pie, did you?
I don't understand. Is it because of the music? You got to take it right to the...
Well, yeah, I was just wondering, just making sure that you guys just sliced it up.
That's all we did. That's all we did, Meg. Let's welcome our esteemed guest from Old World Exploration, Chris. Welcome aboard, Chris. Thanks for
esteemed. Nice.
Esteemed.
AKA, what'd you call him? The Northern Angel?
Northern.
Yeah, I had my Thanksgiving a couple months ago, guys.
Oh,
so.
that's right. Yes.
Don't make this hard for me to be fair. Okay. Yes. Well, man, I don't know if you know this, but we've relocated the Free Speech Studio to Kansas City, Missouri.
No.
So I have all new type of architecture to study out here. And then, of course, I'm sure you heard about the huge announcement about a World Fair being done in the state of Iowa, 2026, I believe. Is the date.
I heard about that.
What was your thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
No, is Iowa going to be the first one? Because weren't there a couple that he announced, or no?
It sounded like Iowa was going to be the first one, but I could be wrong.
Are you guys talking about your commander in chief? Is that the new dude coming in?
If he gets there, all right. If he gets there, we're not even guaranteed that at this point.
That's true.
Yeah.
we're as much in limbo right now about how everything's going to work out. I think the deal is we give Turkey Syria, we let Israel take a little chunk of that, and Lebanon. Ukraine is just sort of fucked, and that's how we start off the new year. Either that, or we go into complete World War III. I don't know.
You know what they just announced here in Canada? They're taking away our automatic weapons and they're going to send them to Ukraine.
Oh.
They just like 3 days ago.
Trudeau's on his way out, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do for my citizens? I'm going to take their guns away.
Smart.
Ukraine.
Smart. Helping them out over there. Helping them out overseas. Yeah.
Well, someone's got to pick up the slack because I'm tired of sending it.
Yeah.
You know, we sent how many jets over there?
I mean, Ukraine can go to the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean. I can't remember where I dropped mine off at, but they're out there in the water somewhere.
There you go.
Go searching for them.
I think Ukraine is the one that gets that's really screwed over out of all. I mean, obviously Palestine, but they didn't really count. So I think it's going to be Ukraine that has to take the short end of the stick there. But I don't know, man. Like there's just so many variables. Did you see the whole handshake with Trump in France the other day? Oh my God!
Yeah, you talking to me? Absolutely. The arm, the high elbow. I call that the high elbow.
Get up there, little guy.
Did you see that, May? I'll see if I can't find a clip for you. You know how like Trump, he's like that old school business type of like mindset where like a handshake meant something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think the new generation necessarily feels that way about handshakes.
Mm-hmm.
But the generation where Trump comes from, it's all in like how long you hold the hand, who has the upper hand. Let me see if I can find this one with Macron. So he meets, the Notre Dame, does that whole thing, and here we go. Let me pull this up here. I'll add to the stage here, right here.
Yeah, high elbow.
I wish I could find a longer version of it because
he's got that thing in a fucking death grip.
It's so awkward, dude. I mean, like his hand is like jacked all the way up. Let's see if this one plays it here. It's the good old Daily Mail here. It's a quality television here. Is this a thing between Trump? Just to awkwardly grab his hand? This isn't even the one I'm looking for.
No, look how long he holds it for. He's just ragdolling him. He's ragdolling him.
And Macron knows. Macron understands this like mental ideology on business and holding hands. But Trump's just like, nope. He's still. There you go.
He's like, can you please stop it? My
there
hand
it is.
hurting.
There it is. Yeah. Look at Macron. He's like, yes, thank you, Mr. Trump.
You can let go now. It hurts. It hurts a lot.
Oh.
I just like he grabs it, and then he like brings him into him. He's like, "You're gonna smell what I had for breakfast."
It's a dominant move. It's a dominant move. Yeah.
I think it's really that effective.
I'm gonna try it tomorrow.
Yeah, handshake. We were always taught, because I was raised knocking on doors, and we were taught that it was handshake was everything. Eye contact while not letting go is like a dominance. But Trump, I mean, he makes it so uncomfortable.
I'm still doing the elbow bump. I don't know about you guys.
Have they allowed handshake?
Yeah, I was about to say I don't.
In Canada, we're still on the elbow bump. We're a little bit behind you guys up here.
Yeah, just a tad.
We only had 44 arrests this year. How are you handling up there? I mean, winter started like 3 months ago for you guys.
Yeah, it's been good. We're leading up to Christmas, and the kids are getting ready to 2 more weeks of school. It's all right. It's not that different than your Midwestern weather. Let's not exaggerate it too much. Come on, man. It's habitable.
I guess are you more on the western side of the country or eastern side?
Yeah, northwestern BC. I'm like right in the middle of British
Okay.
Columbia. Yeah,
Okay.
Rocky
All right.
Mountains. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, real pretty out there then.
Mhm.
Okay. No, I'm from the flatlands, so there's nothing. I mean, we like to say there's our own beauty, and I mean, obviously, as you can see, there are like I'm excited to see the type of architecture we have here in Kansas City because I've just spent a little time. Have you done any research on Kansas City yet?
Oh yeah, I've done two videos on Kansas City. I did sort of a full length one, and I did a shorter one in my early YouTube days. So, Kansas City will blow you away. You got to watch my video then, and take in what wasn't or what doesn't stand anymore, because a lot of it got torn down. It was crazy. Kansas City was crazy. Yeah.
And we might pull up some clips and just go over some of those things on that. Right now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but we do have some pretty rare footage of Alex Jones at Thanksgiving.
The Church of England is sending a literal army of immigrants across our borders to destroy our way of life. I mean, those blankets are covered in a literal super virus that will wipe you out. King James is a lizard person who drinks the literal blood of little babies.
Once again, I just don't know how he did it all the way back then. But he got it right. He got it right. Now, you said you are not monetized because of the content. You think because of the content you cover?
Well, I don't know. It's just
pretty good following as far as like views and people.
Yeah, people get like 27,000 I'm at right now, and I don't know. I got the advice from I don't know if you know Michelle Gibson. She's doing a lot of research in this field. She's been around for a while, and she didn't monetize, and she seems to think that kept her off the radar in some ways as far as censorship goes. So I've taken that route. I don't need the income from it. I do have ways for people to support me, but
and what are those ways for people that want to support you?
Yeah, I got a bunch of links on my channel. Take you to a couple books. I got 3 books. 2 of them are coffee table books on the demolished buildings. There's a new one out called The Matrix Reloaded. Yet again, that one's a written book I co-authored with John and Melissa Reiser, some friends of mine, and we just go into all sorts of like wacky. We get into the flat stuff and we get into the medical stuff and sort of take you down a bunch of rabbit holes. So that if you're into that, then that's a good one for people to grab as well. And I got some merch and stuff like that too, but those are the options.
You get those all off of your page on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, they can just go, if anyone's interested, just go to the YouTube channel and then there's links there. Yeah.
Why do you think, Chris, that there is this sort of, not out and about demonetization, but Joe Rogan, I forget who he had on a couple weeks ago. The guy talked about just in the last year, there was 30 companies that were demonetized in Silicon Valley that were startups, where all their money was, essentially frozen, and the companies dried up. And you sort of see it like that trickle down a little bit into just, obviously YouTube has its areas of interest, but I don't know if you do anything on TikTok or.
Not really. I have an account, but I don't really post to it. I got a Rumble now. Those are, I think I'm over 1,000 now on Rumble, but those are really the 2 main ones. I got an Instagram too, but I kind of gave up on TikTok.
You're not doing anything controversial. Like you watch your videos, you're not F-bomb this, and you're just showing pictures and photographs.
It's the truth they don't want out.
Well,
don't want rediscovered.
I think if you're not towing the normie line, if you're with me on that, then they're just going to suppress you. That's what I think's happening. If I went out and said, and repeated what Wikipedia said and repeated what you're going to see in the school history books, I'm sure it'd be fine. Probably have twice as many people following me. I don't know, maybe.
And you say you're averaging around 27 right now as far as views for around videos.
Well, this is interesting though. So I'm at 27,000 subs, but I average about 5,000 to 8,000 views per video. And I've actually worked it out that there's kind of a ratio from number of subs to average number of views per video. And I've talked to other guys that do this as well, and they seem to see the same ratio. It's just about a third the number of views you're going to get on a video when compared to your number of subs. So it's quite a bit lower than.
And the only reason I wanted to bring it up is just because, like, I know you don't really sit there and toot your own horn as far as stuff like this, but you put a lot of effort into it. And I think, like, people should know, these people that watch your videos and really glean some fascinating information, that there's ways that, there's other ways you can support your content, like you mentioned.
Well, it's the classic. If you ask for too much, you're a shill. You get that a lot, right?
Yes, that is true. But at the same time, like for us, obviously the last 4 years we've just been hammering home Fantom Facts, and I mean, like, I got a message from YouTube about our Boeing whistleblower video asking, if I was okay or if I had suicidal thoughts. That's how interesting. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no, you can go on our channel and look at the little reel I made about it. But it was, I was all from the Boeing whistleblower who it was supposedly, both of them who supposedly killed themselves. So, and it was so weird that they said someone viewed it and expressed concern. So I don't know, maybe someone from Boeing's concerned about me. So
Yeah, they saw that and they were like, "Oh, can't have another one lost. We gotta keep as many people."
Heartfelt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, either way, I have decided to sell out, and we're going to, take on sponsors and maybe have to curtail our content. But we did get our first sponsor, so I think it is now as good as time any. We got to play that.
What's going on in there?
Yeah.
Honey, are you okay?
Well, I've been on Twitter all morning. I can't get my shits to stop.
Now, honey, you know how bad Twitter makes your stomach.
Oh, I know. I really should. Oh, you should be. I shouldn't.
Babe, honey.
I know I shouldn't be on Twitter.
No, it upsets your stomach every time.
I know. If only there was a way to make my stool solid again.
And now there is with Fantom Facts Suppository. Fantom Facts Suppository for all your Twitter shitter needs. Over 50% of men that believe that there is a threat to democracy, or believe that we're democracy in general, suffer from diarrhea, severe diarrhea, excessive diarrhea. But not anymore. How do they work, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked me that. It's actually quite simple. First of all, remove the pill from its packaging and be sure to apply a generous amount of the supplied lube. And then merely hand it off to your partner who is suffering from excessive diarrhea. Fantom Pharmaceutical Suppositories. They'll stop your excessive diarrhea right up front.
So I'm embarrassed. We had to sell out, but it's just
Every time we do this with these or with the music, poor Chris's followers are like, "What in the fuck did he get into? Why is he entertaining these clowns?" I just remember our last interview, watching the video on YouTube, and a lot of his followers are like, "You wasted your time with these guys? Why?"
The intro song on that one that glued my balls to my butthole. My kids loved it. We played it over and over again.
Fantom Pharmaceuticals. We've taken that pharmaceutical money.
Is that on GoodRx or what? Where could people go for that?
Local CVS or Walmart pharmacy, of course.
You guys, can you get those in Canada? Are they shipped to Canada?
It's going to be expensive.
We've got a postage strike too, so it might take a while to get here.
I would suggest FedEx. Yeah. Do you guys? What's your Amazon situation up in Canada? Is
it's full on. It's basically taken over the postal service, and it's all guys from India that are delivering around in their beat up minivans all day. Yeah.
It's amazing the impact. How big is like? Do you live in a pretty decent sized population?
Yeah, 80 to 100,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I showed my girlfriend that you could get same day delivery on Amazon now.
Crazy.
In Kansas City, right? It is crazy.
That's crazy.
Like, oh, I need a shower curtain. I'll just have it delivered later on today. All right. Probably reset ourselves here. You guys seen the assassination attempt on the successful assassination of that CEO? I think it was Brian Thompson was his name.
Yeah.
Was he was like healthcare insurance?
Yeah, CEO of the largest private healthcare company in the United States. And he was attending some sort of meeting in New York where he got gunned down. You can see it on CCTV footage where the guy walks up behind him, shoots him, gun jams. The first shot, I guess, hit him in the leg, and then after the gun jammed a couple times, he shot him again and killed him, and then escaped. Hasn't been caught, which I mean, I think is just sort of interesting because the overall consensus. I mean, before I give you what I've noticed, I'm sort of curious, May, what have you noticed about this story?
Well, I find the memes hilarious where they like see his face and then they just put Hillary Clinton's face over his face. I thought those memes were pretty great. But my kind of whole thing, I was listening to a couple podcasts and they're really into the idea that it was a hired like crackhead in a sense. You know, they were describing if they were the ones to set it up and do it, you know, that'd be your perfect candidate. You know, you find somebody, you know, you work in the deal, you give simple instructions. Because if you watch the video, like, you know, and how the gun jams and how he does, like, you can tell he has, you know, never shot that gun, not familiar with that gun. So it's like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, it was a, you know, and it could have been a trained assassin, but like, you know, with the small caliber of 22 as it was, you would have thought you would have just walked up behind him and put one right in the back of his brain and not, you know, not shot him in the calf and then panicked a little bit on when the gun jammed and then got the job done. But I don't know. I mean, it stinks either way you cut it.
Well, I'm not even really that focused on who the guy was or any of that type of information. I think it's just more or less interesting people's response to what happened. I mean, you can see it all over X, clear as day, someone getting killed. You can just sit there and watch it. You know, I mean, it's and then, you know, on the public news channels, you can sit there and, you know, they blur it out a little bit, but still, I mean, you're watching the public execution of someone, and the response to it is not the same response as this if it had been just, you know, just someone walking down the street. You know, that's sort of what I'm more curious about. What have you noticed about the response about it? You know, because as far as me, like, I've seen so many celebratory comments on it. I think people are.
I haven't went that way on the responses or anything. I guess I really haven't tuned into that aspect of it. So it wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you know, if it even was someone pissed off that they had a loved one that, you know, wasn't able to get care or whatever, and they did it as a, hey, fuck you. I mean, or whatever, excuse my language, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't really followed the whole responses of the people into it.
There's a little TikTok video we can play about it. Hey, can you guys see that?
No, I'm not seeing anything.
Not bad.
Still getting the bugs. Oh, there we go.
United Health CEO Brian Thompson was fatally unalive today. This seems to be a great time to look at United Health and their financials. Mind you, Brian Thompson was making approximately $10 million per year. United Health leads in health insurance providers for claimed denials at 32%. In fact, United Health has had a lawsuit about utilizing artificial intelligence to deny claims. Critically
Interesting.
That's now I've pretty much softballed you here, Chris, to gloat about the Canadian healthcare system for a minute.
Nothing to gloat about up here. We were in shambles, like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
I was,
It's
yeah.
not all it's supposed to be.
No, that's all. No, that's a myth. That's a brutal myth. Like if I schedule a surgery, it's going to be It's going to be a year from now, 8 months from now. Sometimes I have to go to the neighboring town to get it done. Oh yeah, that's a myth, especially since what happened over the last couple of years.
Really?
But I was gonna say this guy's an healthcare insurance guy. I wonder if they've had a lot of claims, like a spike in claims over the last couple of years. I wonder if there's something tied in with the after effects of I won't say too much, but
he wasn't there for our meeting, so we don't but we're strong against demonetization through YouTube. But at the same time, it is interesting that the person that has 32% of the claims denied and was using AI to just randomly pick who he was going to deny. Now, obviously, it's not him, right? He's not but he's sort of the head of the snake. I don't know, man. I see it all over Twitter now. It's interesting when you type in. You just go search. You see a lot of these New Yorkers. They all dressing up the same way.
I saw that.
Mask. And, they're all walking around like it's almost like the what was the guy back in the 2010s, Anonymous. The Guy Fawkes mask. And everyone was all into that. It's sort of the new generation Guy Fawkes, but they successfully killed someone and got away with it. There's implications to getting away with it. Is this going to become the norm now? Like, are we going to see more attempts at these? Just food for thought. I
probably a lot of pissed off people. I'm sure there's a lot of pissed off people at those insurance providers, let's say.
But that's the thing. Like, insurance has been scamming people for decades. Like, it's been a scam for decades. I mean, they made a movie about, what was the Denzel Washington movie? John Q.
Yeah, John Q.
About
insurance.
How about his son needed a heart transplant and his insurance wouldn't cover it.
Interesting.
And so he has to go in and break into a hospital and force a doctor to do it and all that stuff. And then, and that was like 1999. They made that film. So like insurance has been scamming. I mean, it's been well known. Insurance has been scamming people for a long time. But all of a sudden now we're gonna, I don't know. I think there's.
Have you heard of Ed Dowd?
Say what?
Have you ever heard of Ed Dowd? The guy who's been doing all this. He's been digging on all the insurance claims since. Oh man, we're on YouTube, so the thing that went in people's arms since that happened, and disability claims, and it's like the exponential growth by margins of like it's ridiculous. So, like I was saying, I imagine there's a lot of pissed off people out there at these people, more so than ever before. Like not even close to what it was, is my guess.
And things we can talk about is someone I've been doing research on, and I don't have enough to do a show about him today, but Bill Gates.
Oh yeah.
We hear all about Bill Gates all the time. He's almost turned into some of this boogeyman type of persona. And so I wanted to just get down and dirty and do like a deep dive in who Bill Gates was, who Bill Gates' dad was, who Bill Gates' mom was, and the connections you're finding there. And Bill Gates' dad ran the National Planned Parenthood and the wing of the western side of the state's Planned Parenthood back in the 70s. Their big belief in eugenics. And then his mom's tied in with you'll have to forgive me now. I have to get this tie in right. His mom has some interesting tie-ins. I can't remember now.
Well, there's some Rockefeller blood in there. I'm pretty sure. I've heard.
Yes, and it's like his mom's side, but it's not like straight Rockefeller blood, but it's just as like horrible, you know. I can't. She comes from the Maxwell family, but not the Ghislaine Maxwell family. Not that one. From the completely other, you know, child pedophile traffic ring side of the state. This one,
the other Maxwells.
Yeah, this Maxwell just wants to poke kids in Africa. That's all.
Yeah.
Completely different.
It's the west side of the tracks, Maxwell's, not the east side.
Yeah, why do you think he was so mad at Bill dipping into both Maxwells? Who does he think he is? You know? They can't have that. Anyway, we are going to do an episode coming up on Bill Gates just because of the absolute. I mean, just absolutely. And then, like, you watch his dad. I Googled as many seminars I could find on YouTube of his dad giving speeches or talking on radio shows and all that stuff. And his biggest talking point in the late 2000s, the thing he was really, you know, trumping for was the death tax. Now, do you know what the death tax is here in America, Chris? I don't know if you know.
No, enlighten me.
So the death tax is when someone dies with a certain amount or over for a fortune, and they die, and they have this much money, and it's over, I think, $2 million it was at the time. 50% of that goes to the government. It's called an estate tax. So all of your assets. So in the Midwest, it affected farmers because if they died and they had all the farm fields and all that stuff in just their name, you know, and they died, well, now they did a valuation of how much per acre, you know, that cost, and then that's what the family members owed when their father died, or, you know, whoever owned that field. 50%, you know. So I remember talking to some people, they got a notice saying they owed like $357,000 to pay off debt. You know, and they were just farmers, you know, it was just land, you know, couldn't sell your land. Bill Gates' dad, big fan of that tax. Which weird, right? What a weird thing to be a fan of.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense on why he would why that would be his anthill to climb on, the death tax.
Didn't Bill Gates buy up all the farmland in the States? Isn't there like he gobbled up a whole bunch?
Him and China, I think.
Yeah, huge amount. These
one and the same. They're one and the same, aren't they?
Yes.
Oh, his mother, her grandpa. So remember when the Federal Reserve was created? They created 12 branches, which everyone thought was sort of odd because it's sort of like, you know, a Christianity type of thing. You know, you had the Mother Federal Reserve headquarters and its 12 disciples, essentially. And the head of the Western Federal Reserve was Bill Gates' grandpa. That's the tie-in to the Rockefellers.
There you go. Yeah.
So in 1913, 1916, he became head of that. So it's interesting. There's the financial aspect from his mom, and a lot of people, the rumor is she is the one that kickstarted Microsoft. But the dad, there's something weird about the dad, dude. Like I'm just trying to figure it out because Bill Gates loves Papa, loves it. Papa can't talk enough about. You watch the interviews and they're giggling and all that stuff. So I figure if you want to understand why Bill Gates is a crazy psycho, maybe we should do a little research on who his family is. So that's been, you know, I've been going down that wormhole right now. But I do have one I thought you might like here, May.
I'm gonna tell y'all some crazy. The year that I got cut, and some athletes, I told athletes, hey man, I feel like our season getting sabotaged. That's just how I feel. There's no way that we should be running the same exact plays. I remember going into Coach Garrett's office, asking, hey man, you know, I look forward to the game plan. Why am I lining up in the same place each and every week? Like if these guys on the other side not getting paid.
So did you guys know
Pause it right there just for a minute. May, I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I sure do.
Okay, now, if you know Des Bryant, maybe a few too many concussions. So are we just dismissing that what he's saying right here? What he's implying?
No.
You know, is it
No,
just
I mean, a lot of people, there's a lot of people that believe it's all scripted and everything happens, the way it's designed and
you're full of shit, May. There's
no way it's all just a big it's all about the money and what's popular and what's gonna sell.
You guys aren't aware of that? The rest of the world already knows that, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
Yeah. Even Chris in Canada knows that pro sports is bullshit.
It's wrestling, man. It's the same as wrestling.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep playing this. This twice.
Every play before the ball was snapped?
I'm just saying, man, the game ain't decided on the field. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, I predict who's going to be in the Super Bowl. It ain't about who has the best players. Football is entertainment.
Now, I can get behind an argument like that where, like, they start off the season like, hey, we got this storyline. We got the three-peat Kansas City Chiefs. That's a storyline with, their pop culture, what's her name? Tay-Tay and Travis Kelce. And then, you've got other storylines building elsewhere. So I could see them wanting to build those up. But I always had a hard time with the belief that you could get football players to get behind losing games. Like maybe one or two.
They're all getting paid through the moon. I mean, all of them.
You're telling me you fight for your spot as defensive end for the Tennessee Titans, and you get your spot, and then they come up to you and be like, hey, buddy, so here's the thing, right? Like, I'm going to need you to, just get blown up on the edge all day today so this guy could get his 200 yards. You're telling me as a football player, you're going to be like, okay, boss?
I mean, it's like any corporate ladder you climb,
No,
right?
you're full of shit.
Same story.
Yes,
You're talking
any corporate line you climb now. I mean,
600
all about the money.
people.
It's all
600
about the
people.
money.
No, you're talking more than 600 people, right? You're talking how many teams? You got 50 times 30 is a large number for someone like me. But you take that and then add 100 to it, and that's what is 50? What's 5 times 3? 1,500. So you got 15, at least 1,500. So, and probably with coaching and all the interior staff, you're looking at a 6,000 man league, and not one has leaked.
What about the refs? The refs too, right?
Yeah, like I'm telling you, man, it breaks my heart too, but it's all just a dog and pony show.
What about basketball? What about basketball?
That's even worse.
Basketball is, there was a ref that came out and went to prison for fixing games in the 2000s. But for football, I just always thought, even same sort of thing with baseball. Like, I get fixing maybe certain games, but with football, it's just, you only get so many games in the season.
Look, they're paying the college kids now to get comfortable and familiar with it. NIL is great in a sense, but all it is getting you ready for, because these kids, they used to chase that ladder like, oh, I'm going to go and win me fucking 5 Super Bowls and this. And, when I get up there, I'm going to change the game. You're not going to change the game. You're going to get into the circle and you're going to stay in the circle. I want to know how they fix football in Canada. How do you fix it up there?
Are you talking about the CFL?
Yeah, CFL.
Great Iowa quarterback went to the CFL. I'm a big fan. Ricky Stanzi killed it up there. Yeah,
I haven't wasted a single second. When I was a kid, I was a big fan, but I was going to actually go over to basketball. You guys heard of the magnets? Actually, football too. The magnets and the balls. Have you ever come across that conspiracy theory?
No.
They have like
enlighten us.
Yeah, well, there's actually videos out there, guys, with the receivers' gloves, and the ball sticks to their hand, like it's stuck to their hand. They can't get the ball off, and it's malfunctioned in games. There's clips. It makes its rounds on the social media, but
more than just Stickum, because I know Stickum was huge for a while. You know, some of the Stickum they get out there, but
yeah, I know
these catches, and you're like, how does Stickum stop a 60-mile-per-hour mortar shell coming down? You know, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's some footage. Yeah, you should dig it up. I don't know. It's
I will.
And it's like a switch that can be flipped, and it's like a grid of wires sewn into the ball.
As I look that up, I'm going to play this.
That explains why the whole Deflate Gate was such a big thing. They were like, "Oh, hey, we can't dive into this," and that's why the Golden Boy Tom Brady took such a hit. That would make sense. You can't open up our Wilsons because our Wilsons have computer chips or magnets in them.
Interesting. Yeah.
I came across an interview of a guy who, and I've reached out to him to see if he'd come on our show, but in 1989, he wrote a book called Interference about how the NFL rigs their football games. And he made a claim that over 26 football owners, both past and present at that time, were betting on games. Now, this is 1989, and he's gone off on, he talks about a bunch of other stuff now, but this was, I thought it was interesting because it was so hard to find this interview. Like, you see little clippets come up, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't just, he was talking about the NFL, because like you talked about with basketball, basketball has been really bad at sharing or at the refs affecting the outcome of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I can confirm no magnets in store-bought balls because I.
That's Jack. He's funny man. This Jack fella.
Mr. Jack.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'll play this clip. I'm going to look that up on the magnets. I'd never heard that.
Tom Scott and Bernard Rodriguez on drums. Has the White House answered the phone yet? No, not yet. Well, thanks for that tip, Matthew. Boy, I'll tell you what. This is a bombshell book which just came out last week, and it makes some pretty hair-raising charges against a lot of folks involved with the National Football League. The title says a lot of it: Interference: How Organized Crime Influences Professional Football. Please welcome its author, Dan Moldea. Dan?
There's no way the NFL let this guy live.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's fascinating to me about it. But also, I mean, that's the, what's that, Wheel of Fortune? The guy that did Wheel of Fortune for years, Peter Sojak.
Yeah, Pat Sajak.
Pat Sajak. Yeah. Only 1 year hosting this talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Wheel of Fortune. So, maybe they were more mad at Pat.
Hey, what are you hearing from the powers that be? Anything?
They just want me to go away right now.
We've spoken to them, and they don't want to talk about it either. They have nothing to say.
But they're not denying anything, and they're not refuting any of the facts.
Let me talk about some of the major charges. And I just jotted down a few of the. I mean, you're saying, for example, virtually every team owner gambles on football teams.
Well, I'm saying that no fewer than 26.
That's
NFL team owners have documented ties. Past and present NFL team owners have documented business ties to either the gambling community and or the organized crime syndicate. I'm also saying that no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed.
Now that's pretty rough stuff. You're saying no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed. You mean the outcome, the point spread, what?
I'm saying the points were shaved and thereby fixed. Yeah.
How does this happen?
Well, I first got into this about 1983. Vincent Persani, who is the head of the Michigan State Attorney General's Office Organized Crime Division, told me, if you're going to do a book about the NFL, Dan, you're going to have to get into this guy, Don Dawson, because he was fixing games. We knew it. I went to my friends and my sources at the Internal Revenue Service, the Organized Crime Intelligence Division. They said Don Dawson was fixing games. I went to the FBI, the Organized Crime and Racketeering Section of the Justice Department, and Strike Force field offices. Everybody told me what Don Dawson was fixing games. At that point, I had enough evidence to print that allegedly Don Dawson was fixing NFL games. He was a major bookmaker in the Midwest. I then went to Dawson. I tracked him down. I jumped through all kinds of hoops to interview him. And when I interviewed him on about the 7th or 8th interview, he admitted to me that he had personally participated in the fixing of no fewer than 32 NFL games.
How does that happen?
He liked to work with the quarterback. He would go to the quarterback would come to him and say, I need some bread. What's the line on the game this week? And the bookmaker would say, you guys are favored by 6 points. And then the reply was, we're not going to cover the spread. And basically that was it.
Now, do you name players?
Oh, sure. I name players. And also in 1979, I go into the specifics of
maybe why quarterbacks all of a sudden became the highest paid position in the NFL.
Yeah, you don't need to control all 6,000 or whatever the number you had was, right? Just a couple of them.
You get your
Just
quarterback
32
and
of
your
them.
referees. Quarterback and your referees, right? Your core group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a small enough number to put it where you want and to control. Yeah. So that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense, actually.
Now, Chris, I know your audience is extremely intelligent when it comes to mess like this. This is kindergarten stuff for them. But we like to just sort of build up a little basis here, because if you're just exposed to this, your initial reaction is going to be there is no freaking way. I've watched football all my life. And I mean, I can see refs fucking up games. But and yet the whole time I've been alive, this interview's been out here. This book has been out here.
Yeah.
And completely covered up, which I
8 fixed games that were allegedly fixed by 2 referees who were investigated by both the FBI and the IRS. And I list the 8 games on page 308 of the book.
Yeah. Are drugs involved in this at all?
Yeah, drugs are the real variable in all of this. I mean, when a drug dealer has a relationship with a player, there's an extortionate edge to that situation, whereby that dealer has that player's career in his hands because of the drug policies within the NFL for throwing a person out. Within the past few years, no fewer than 9 NFL teams have been investigated because their players were receiving drugs from gamblers. Now, I know gamblers who, on principle, refuse to sell drugs, but I'm not aware of many drug dealers who, on principle, refuse to gamble. And the key here is that the NFL is very aware of the fact, and their worst case scenario is the player who's strung out can't pay his bill to his dealer, and so the dealer comes to him and says, "Hey, you owe me money," and the dealer says, and the player says, "I told you I can't pay it," and the dealer says, "That's okay, but now you're going to come and work for me."
Now, the obvious question you're talking about all these games being fixed. You're talking about all these people involved. You're talking about going to various agencies, and they're saying who the people are involved. Why has this gone uncovered if this is the case?
What I'm also alleging in the book is that no fewer than 50 legitimate investigations of corruption within the NFL have been either suppressed or just flat out killed as a result of a sweetheart relationship between NFL security, which is the internal police force within the league.
So how does that work with the Canadian Football League? Is that a tax-free entity in the Canadian government?
Oh, no. We get taxed on everything. Taxed on taxes and taxed some more.
But the Canadian Football League, are they taxed?
Honestly, it's such a non-issue. I have no idea. It's less important than high school sports. It's not
telling me
kids to the NFL.
Kids don't go in high school in Canada, and they're like, "I'm gonna make it to the CFL. That's my baby."
Most kids don't even know what that is.
What is it? The Grey Cup you win?
The Grey Cup. Yeah, it's not even silver. It's gray. Oh man.
Well, because in America, the NFL is a tax-free organization.
Yeah,
they're tax exempt. So, which would make sense because
like a church, kind of like a church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
Would you look at that? And they're both played on Sundays.
Whoa.
Wednesdays and Thursdays and Tuesdays now, and anytime you can get into a church or a football game.
I did find a little thing about magnets in basketball. I don't know if you guys want to watch that at all real quick here. Let me see if I can
defended by
it's
Simmons. Is this the dagger?
I didn't see that.
All right, so
Is this the dagger?
That was the Kawhi Leonard shot when Toronto
all right, so
won
starting in
the
the
finals.
2021-2022 NBA season, the NBA changed from Spalding to Wilson for their official basketballs. You will see why I said this later in the video. But the other thing I found interesting was the NBA doesn't use a new basketball every game. The ball is handed to the officiating crew before every game and simply gets reused.
Now, we have a crazy amount of comments. So if anyone does want to call in and
Get us on track or, whatever.
have something they want to talk about on the subject, just click on the link here below in the comments. You'll see it there. Click on that link and it'll put you into the green room. So feel free.
Interesting. It is also kept in proper condition unless a player asks to keep it. And NBA game balls are subject to an extensive review process. Think about it, an extensive review process before they're used in an NBA game. And furthermore, it says after the final buzzer during the season, the 3 balls selected for use in an NBA game will be returned to the equipment store of the home team for general use in practice and drills.
That is interesting. I can't stop thinking about what you brought up there, May, about the being so protective over the balls. Because, that is true. I always thought that was odd. Because, in baseball, they would just toss the balls to the kids, after, an inning was over or something. But in football, man, they've got people hired that come tearing down there to get that football out of your hands and back to the
Or you get fined out the wazoo for, giving a ball away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little...
That's some good content out there.
You read that right there, but then you go down here and it shows features and specs. So the specs here are pretty much the same as the ones on Spalding. So it shows you that. Ships inflated, all that kind of stuff, right? So you go back, but you go to the features and it pretty much shows you all that. But I want to note this right here. If you look here, it says the NBA Game Ball 1 is the closest to what is used by the pros every season. However, basketball is used for NBA games, may have unique specifications, digital technology, and or stricter quality controls or tolerances. So I want to pay note to
they have to
take notice of digital technology. So a lot of people have questioned as of lately, and I've seen this become a lot more prevalent of a question. Are there magnets inside of the basketballs? Do I think so? Yes, definitely. Because I've seen after that Kawhi shot against the Sixers in 2019, I had no choice but to believe it.
Yeah, you got to get some of those examples.
This is all technology inside of it with the motherboard.
Wow.
They got some. Sorry about that. They got a couple clips here.
Bill Gates clip. It's a chip from Bill Gates. Sorry.
No wonder my Microsoft points got so expensive.
They got some clips here we can play of examples.
Core. Is it magic or is it magnets? Tiny magnets placed on the ball, ensuring a strong attraction to the metal rim. Watch.
You're pause it for a second if you don't mind. That's David Blaine showing you without showing you, right? Putting it into, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what I
Good
think.
old David Blaine. I mean, you just can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
He just broke it all.
Where do I buy those?
I think they can turn on and turn off the magnetic charge at the rim, so guys start dropping shots or guys just start bricking everything. You know how it seems to flow in games? It's like, okay, they can't make a bucket. I think there's something there.
Baron needs more magnets. Baron gets more magnets. Don't believe me? Watch the NBA playoffs and you'll see there's really no other explanation.
No,
that was
an NBA TV.
They have to tell you, right? It's a joke. But it's not a joke. That's what I think with that one. You know,
we all know whenever you shoot a basketball, it's supposed to bounce off the rim if it doesn't go in, assuming you don't airball or flat out brick off the backboard. No, I would love for somebody to explain this shot to me. Nigga, the ball is sitting on the top of the rim.
Did you see the flash on the ball? You see that little? Is that the lighting? Or
No,
no, that's not the lighting.
Look at you. Nice dig.
So you can see the lighting, but then you'll also see another little thing that lights up.
Nigga, the ball is sitting on the top of the rim. It didn't bounce. And to all the trolls that love to say, oh, it's just physics, that's what the ball did that. I would love for you to physics your way out of this one, bitch.
Oh,
this guy's.
I mean, he is right though, because that is a round object sitting on a flat surface.
Not possible. Not possible.
Lobo, you don't have to be so mad. It's okay. I get being mad, right?
He's just mad because his 2K player ain't that smooth. Spends all that money on 2K. Come find out these guys are playing a rigged
If you really think there's
game.
not magnets in this shit after watching these, I don't know what to tell you. Now, I play basketball.
Now, I believe this because Idaho State would need help. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but
I think I know what you're saying.
My entire life, and not once has this ever happened shooting the ball. The ball doesn't sit this long on the front of the rim and go in. If you say it does, you just playing 2K and you got a glitch. Now to this next one, this shit is just ridiculous. The dude airballs a free throw. Clearly doesn't have range.
Oh, I saw it.
Airball doesn't have range. Airballs a free throw. Clearly doesn't have range. Airballs the 3. Confirms he doesn't have range. Now watch the half-court shot. Sinks it. Really?
You guys
really
see that little piece of tape on there? It looks like a little piece of tape.
I didn't see that, no. Took me to figure out we were watching this white guy with no arm strength and no leg core trying to make these shots here. Show me an athlete.
It's a 2.1 Plumlee doing? And there is Anthony Davis. Well, you got to follow him.
Now, I'm going to throw, because you can't just say every shot, right? Like, I have made those fadeaway threes. I'm just going to throw that out there in my younger days. So, and I wasn't cheating. You know, it was just pure skill.
Me too.
Yeah, there was no screen.
I mean, I was a junior pro all-star. Not good enough to make the high school team, but that city league, boy, dropped me down for MVP. All because of magnets.
You know what I found out I was good at was throwing picks. They really, my teammates really emphasized that for me. So picks and threes. That's all I could do.
We dove into something I didn't think we'd get into.
Yeah, that was a magnet.
Man. Oh, what did he say?
It was a magnet. And there is Anthony Davis. Well, you got to follow him. No. Yeah, there was no screen, Plumlee. You got to follow him. There ain't no screen. Yeah, that was a magnet.
I don't.
First buzzer beater for AD.
Now watch this shot by Anthony Davis. He had a fadeaway three-pointer. As you can see, this shot is short, way short. Now, as you can see from the basketball's trajectory, at the last minute, it starts to drift to our right to go in the basket. Now, listen to what former NBA player Josh Smith has to say about magnets in the rims while he's watching this.
First of all, if it worked that good, I would have known who this guy is. I've never heard of him.
Josh Smith? You don't know who Josh Smith is?
Never heard of him.
Okay.
I might just be too north to know about them.
Ice Trey say he the fourth member of the Migos, man. Look, they got a magnet on the rim. That one ain't supposed to go in. Look at him, now he hurt. Look at it. See what happened? See what happened when you get your ass kicked? Shit hurt a little worse, boy. Shit hurt a little worse. Look, they got a magnet on the rim. That one ain't supposed to go in.
I'm telling you, when the players start saying stuff, but like Chris said, it's all just out there in front of our face. You know, they're blatantly showing you and telling you that it's all just a TV saga. What is that? General Hospital that fucking has been on for 52 years. We just keep tuning in. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Is that all your wife watches?
No.
I didn't
I
know.
was gonna think like Golden Girls, but I think they're all dead. So, you know.
Yeah. All right. Let me see here. I've got a couple of other things that we can go over, but that has sort of opened up my intrigue into that because I don't know. I had seen those clips, and I believe that about the basketball. You know.
Okay. Can I cut you off and just show you the football real quick, if you don't
Yeah.
mind?
Yeah. No. Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. One sec.
Can you share your screen? I
Yeah.
think you can, right?
So I killed the sound. I don't think you can get the sound anyway, but you'll be able to see just a minute or two of this. It's a real thing. And the
No,
glove works with it.
I believe that stuff just because.
I mean, that makes total sense because, I mean, look how off-branded the gloves are, right? And then you just throw whatever label or whatever brand on them. You know, it's because I mean, I even in high school and stuff, I spent all the money on all the nice gloves that the cutters that were supposed to do that exact same thing, and they were never that pure. This, there's no way. Show the fat kid again catching the football, not this one, the other one.
There's some clips from the NFL too, though, where it gets stuck to the guy's hand. I'll move it forward. I don't know exactly where it is, but this is an actual ad for the glove itself, apparently, and then the guys sort of segue it into the NFL.
They're all saying it's like for practice, though. Oh, this is a great practice.
Yeah, they would never use it in the game, right? That's not allowed.
Oh,
I'm trying to find an NFL clip here. There's one where it gets stuck to the guy's hand, and he's got to pull the glove off to get the ball out of his hand, right? But I don't know. I wanted to throw the little because you think football is sacred. I just wanted to shatter that part of your.
Don't you do that to me, Chris. All right, I've left my heart open here. You know, I mean, I know it's a lie, but it's my lie.
Okay, there. Back to you.
No, that's great. I mean,
yeah, man, that's very. That is a very. It's just interesting because tied into him, and I reached out to Moldia to see Dan Moldia is his name. He's also done some work on Jimmy Hoffa as well. But
that's a hell of a find. That interview is a hell of a find. Good work on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had my wonderful girlfriend helping me cross-reference a bunch of areas.
I'm surprised he's still alive. That's my because usually they don't go after the NFL,
dude. Like, what does that mean? He's still alive? Like, where was his protection? Who? To me, is that the CIA reaching out to him and being like, "Hey, bud, help us expose this so that we can get them completely under our wing." Because right now they're a bunch of 32 independent owners, or at that time it would have been 30 independent owners. So, and we know 98% of them are fucking around, and we can use that as leverage. So you come out here, you raise a little fear, you get them in line, and then they follow our narrative, within reason, of course.
That's an interesting take. Really interesting.
Because it would have been the 89 time. 89 is the time when Reagan had released. I'm sorry, post Reagan. I think it would have been Bush Sr. The CIA is released upon the United States at that time to control narrative. And a bunch of laws are passed by Reagan and Bush Sr. that allow the CIA to do all sorts of illegal tapping and so on and so forth. And you see a consolidation of independent businesses throwing their weight around to now all of a sudden everyone's sort of stepping in line. And I wonder if this is part of that time of it going around. Maybe that's why Trump was never allowed to buy his own football team. Yeah, I often find that interesting because it's an elite club. You talk about elite clubs. There's nothing really more elite than the NFL owners, 32 men that control large swaths of entertainment for the American public.
Well, and one lady, the lady who owns the Bears, So,
well, and I think the family of the Kansas City Chiefs is just steeped allegedly in mob and mob roots. So, and that's it's so interesting because it's Kansas City, Missouri, but no, that mob roots reach everywhere in entertainment, in certain aspects of entertainment, like the mob controlled in the 50s and 60s and 40s. Music, music industry was a huge mob rule. Still is. It's just the mobs change. Let's go ahead.
I thought Kansas City was known for having mob ties, mob connections. Isn't that a thing?
Maybe I'm just I know I'm not smart, so it was news to me. I was surprised to hear about it, but I was talking to people around here, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you gotta look into this family." I'm like, "Well, I live here now, so let's look into the family of St. Louis. See what those losers are up to." Do we have time for a little Moloch news? A little Moloch news update, everybody.
Yeah. Hey everyone, you can sing along too. It's Moloch News, Moloch News. He's out there to eat kids and Jews. It's Moloch. Moloch News. It's an update, everybody.
hopefully we'll land on Uranus. Nice tight fit.
The Moloch News, everybody. It's the latest update on good old tactics being done for you. HelloFresh. I don't know if you know what Hello. Here, let me add that to the stage. You know what? I don't know if you know what HelloFresh is. They send you. I think it's prepackaged, like ingredients, and then you make the meal yourself.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a great idea, especially if you're like new, living by yourself or with a couple of roommates. And you
I love how you've asked him twice, 3 times now if the same reach gets into Canada. Like Amazon, HelloFresh.
Hey, it's globalists, man. It's globalists for a reason.
TV up there? Like, what do you?
No.
What else do you want to ask him?
I believe in a very Columbo style of approach.
Yeah, you do.
Overly dumb.
Fair.
I might find a gem, and it also covers me for moments where I am truly overly dumb.
You're very unassuming. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chris. You know what? For that, Chris. That's you, other Chris. You'll now be referred to as Chris 2. All right, here we go.
Department of Labor is investigating HelloFresh. It is over allegations that the popular meal kit service employed migrant children at a cooking and packaging facility here in the Chicago area as recently as this summer. The facility in question is located in Aurora on Indian Trail. It's a Factor 75 facility, which was acquired by HelloFresh in 2020. An immigrant rights advocacy group that helped report the matter says this involves at least 6 teenagers, some of whom migrated from Guatemala. They were found working night shifts at the facility, and documents apparently show that the Labor Department is also investigating whether Midway Staffing, an agency that hires employees to work at the facility, also violated federal child labor rules. A spokesperson for HelloFresh telling ABC News in a statement today, quote,
Now, we don't know the age of these kids, right? I mean, they could be, and it could be just an isolated incident as well. Now, we do know in the meat processing factories here in the Midwest, they've been busted several times for several thousand children being employed to clean the processing plant at night in order to pay off their coyotes who got them over there. So,
I mean,
is
if
that
HelloFresh is using children, why the fuck are their monthly fees and everything so expensive? Like, I want a kickback on the price if we're using, 6 to 12-year-olds to package and Ziploc these bags together. Instead of $32 a month, I'd like it to be more 12, 15.
Well, and you mega enthusiasts, before you get too crazy about how Trump is going to end this, you're 50% right. He is going to end this. He is going to end the regulation that prohibits child labor. So, and then we can go as young as probably like 50. But I mean, my first job was working for my dad, cleaning banks and law firms at like 6. And the only reason I was doing that was because mom was sick of having 2 boys in the house. So she's like, they were out working when I'm sorry, I shouldn't. I feel bad. I'm sorry, mother. You don't sound anything like that. It was a tone of tension, though. Anyway, there's a little.
Should we do a little, since we have the source here? Should we go over the Kansas City thing for a minute? I don't know what time everybody has.
If you got some time, Chris, I'd be happy to go over a little bit of what you found in Kansas City to all the local.
Oh yeah, I got my file ready to go for sure. Yeah, if whatever you want to do, I'm easy.
Or what you're working on. I mean, I'm down because I love to hear what you're always cooking up and what you got going on.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I got all sorts of stuff. I like to get into the Kansas City. I got a file ready, and I'd like to show you, some surprises for you. I don't know.
Okay, let's go.
All right, I'll share screen. So you've just moved here? That's correct?
Yes. Yeah, I just moved here a couple months ago. I got a job out here, and I just noticed like there's some, especially like the train depot.
Mm-hmm.
About a lot out here, and there's a lot of we drove around downtown because it's sort of our activity now is when we go to a new area we try to find their old buildings. And Kansas City's downtown is very hilly. Now it is built right along the banks of the Missouri River out there, so it does make sense for some of the hilliness of it. But if you look into the history of the Missouri River before it was dammed up, it's a very violent river. Like it just would just change overnight. There'd be an ice flow that would break loose, and it would just. There was one account up north where it just destroyed a whole town. They had to rebuild the whole town, and they changed their minds on building the Capitol because they're like, just in case that happens again, So and these storms are, and that would have been the storm I'm talking about would have been around that 1889, 1890.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you got the old world eye? Wherever you go now, you're kind of looking at the old buildings?
Yes, I can't help it. And so I've dragged my girlfriend along in this search as well.
Cool. It's fun, right? Don't you think it's fun looking at old buildings?
We love architecture. Like it's always I lived in New York when I was in my early 20s, and some of the architecture in New York just blew me away at what they have. What are we looking at here? Do you know? Just
I'm not sure. That looks like a inverted pentagram, though. That's weird. I just noticed that.
Oh, it does. Yeah, or a star. Definitely a star.
Well, yeah, but it's upside down. It's probably a Masonic parade if that's what's going on down there.
Well, and that's interesting, Chris, because we do have a guest coming on that's a 32nd degree Mason in Kansas City, and so I'm sort of looking at certain questions to ask.
Yeah.
Poke his brain at, because Mason have a very big influence everywhere, but especially in these types of towns, it's interesting to see their influence.
Now, when they're at that 32nd degree, do they know much, or do they have to get to 33 before they actually?
It's 33. I would never say. I don't want to say that because
of course not.
I'm not that. I don't want to be like, hey, you haven't done jack shit, brah. Like that. I'm not gonna do that. Like
you're still one step away from mattering.
You should say we've tried to get a 33rd degree, but all I could get was 32.
But I have looked. Yeah. The thing too with him is I have done research on what happens when you get that 32nd degree title, and they fly you out to DC. You go to the main lodge. They take you under. They give you the grand grand tour of what you're supposed to see. So it is sort of interesting to at least see that perspective, you know, of that. Oh, there, yeah, electric trolleys. Look at all those trolleys.
Oh yeah, oh big time, big time.
Yeah, and these, do you have a time frame on when these are?
I wish I had for per photo. I don't really. You're probably looking at early 1900s photos right here, between 1890 and 1910. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
I don't know if you know about this part of the story though.
No.
The mud floods in Kansas City. This is supposed to be 1871. This one.
Interesting.
Take a look at what we got going on here. Apparently, it was buried and they dug the city out.
The damn mudslides and mud floods. That's just that every time we dive into it, it's just so freaking interesting.
Yeah. Something happened, right? I've got a few more of those ones. Let's take a look here. Here's another one.
I mean, that is unreal.
Look at the style of buildings too. Like, and then you got mud right next to them, right? It's like, it's weird. It's weird.
Now it'd be interesting, like if you look at the back of that building, did they like cut it out of the hill?
Yeah, I don't know. This looks like a whole bunch of mud that's just sort of piled up against it, against this building here, with all there. And then the foreground is weird. You don't know. I mean, you don't know if they're playing around with photos too, but it just seems. I noticed Seattle and Kansas City had a lot of this going on. Out of all the cities I've done, and I've done like 200 cities in the States now, those two cities had real mud flood evidence photos.
Can you zoom in for me to the back of that picture? Sort of all the way back there. Yeah. It's just sort of interesting because, you know, you talked about, you know, how a lot of this is drawn in afterwards. You know, it's just artwork with the photo present.
Yeah, it just seems weird.
And too, just the time frame when all this was, you know, constructed with, you know, just because we all knew there was just, you know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people just lining up, ready to go to work and hammer out these buildings in, you know, a day or two.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, it didn't take long. 1869, like that. There's not a lot of people living in KC in 1869. You're looking.
Did you ever find out what the what you were looking at for population wise in 1869?
Yeah, it's in my video for sure. I didn't actually do research before I hopped on here tonight, but Wikipedia will give you all those demographics. They'll give you the big surge in the 1880s, and it's always the same story. Like, that's just weird to me to have this. That doesn't look real in some ways.
It doesn't.
And they got
and wasn't I mean, Kansas. So St. Louis, Missouri is the stopping point before the Great Expansion. That's why there's the big arch there. It was an old trading route on the Mississippi, and then I mean, I would have to look in to see, you know, the big first expansion town after that is Kansas or Kansas City. And then, you know, that's the last stop before you head up to the mountains. You know, you get to Pueblo, you get to Colorado Springs, you get to Denver.
Yeah.
So, like, let's see here. I was just sort of curious as anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's fine. It's good context for sure.
1850 is when it's established as a city.
Yeah.
Renamed Kansas City in 1853, 1889.
We got population demographics there.
Buy me some time here.
Sorry, putting you on the spot.
I'm looking. I'm trying to. I'm not very good here.
This one's Board of Trade building. It's ridiculous. So they got 1888 to 1968, torn down in the 60s. Urban renewal. I've been digging into urban renewal in general recently, and it's a can of worms. The stuff they tore down in the 50s and 60s and 70s is absolutely ridiculous.
The 1950s.
I mean, just look at that thing.
Yes. Yeah, this is amazing structure. Here, there's some close-ups too that give you a better idea of. Look how smooth the corners are on this thing, right? 1880s, they've supposedly put this thing together.
So we go 1846, population of 700. To the time we get to 1860, it's population of 4,400. And then by 1870, you're at 32,000. And by 1880, you're at 55,000.
Yeah, but that math isn't mathing though.
1890, you're at 132,000.
There's a big jump. Yeah.
So we're looking 1880, yeah, triple the size. Triple the size there. 1882, first electric lights used in Kansas City, implemented by KCP&L.
That's early.
Company.
That's real early.
It was a subsidiary of Great Plains Energy. So that'd be interesting. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not calling them all simple folk, but to come up with like that just beautiful design and stuff, like, I mean, I know there was, there's had to have been, smart people and creative people too back then, but I mean, just some of this just mind blowing. And then that population jump. I mean, what were people having kids at 12 years old? I mean, holy moly! Like,
yeah, it had to be. It had to be absolute chaos for these places to double and triple in size every 10 years. There'd be no rhyme or reason to anything that's going on. It would be madness. It'd be slums. Not the architecture that we see doesn't seem to add up in my mind.
Well, Federal Reserve is set up in Kansas City in 1914. That's interesting. So they're part of whatever chapter that was of the 12. That covered Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Wyoming, and portions of Missouri, northern New Mexico. That's all was based in Kansas City in 1914. So we're looking like prior anything 1914 for all the suspicious stuff, right? Because I feel like once they set up their bank presence here, that's when you start to see history be rebuilt, right? Truman gets involved, Rockefeller's involved. There's these different institutes established.
Well, Truman's responsible for the urban renewal as well. In 1949 is when they penned the housing, the big, demolition of a lot of the buildings in the states.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I dug into urban renewal. It's like tens of thousands of buildings were torn down, but not. They were supposed to be renewal, right? The whole point of renewal is to rebuild, but a lot of them just were torn down and left that way. It seemed to be a program that was being implemented across, not just the States, it's happening in Europe as well, post-World War II. They're getting rid of a lot of what I think, with my tinfoil hat on the old world theory, is that they're destroying the old architecture and infrastructure. And they did it with the streetcars as well. There's the GM conspiracy, where they went in and bought out all the streetcars in the States, and then they just decommissioned them and paved it and made bus routes instead. That actually went to court over that antitrust in the 70s, I believe. The great streetcar conspiracy. So
Seeing some great comments here. Nebraska state capital is the second highest in the nation. It has a dumb story. Would love to hear it. Posted the link to StreamYard if you want to call in. Bring it up.
I do. I like the one comment: 7 trillion bricks. Where was the nearest brick company? It's like,
Yeah.
It's the nearest brick companies. They're just shoveling and removing the mud.
Those kids weren't, they weren't going out and getting engineering jobs. Those kids were being used to farm. It took 7 kids to plow a field, to, plant crops, to take care of the livestock. And so their access to being able to go out and build some of these structures. And like this one you're showing right here, this building, I don't know what this is, but once
City Hall.
Why is it halfway in the ground?
Yeah. And look at the timeline. Look how long it stood for. Like that's a fortress, a brick fortress. And it stood for how many years is that? I'm trying to math it now. 46, I think. Stood for 46 years. Like, look at the entryway. How many? You got like a 1, 2, 3, 5 arched entryway that looks like it's a story and a half tall of bricks. This is a 1, 2, 3. This is a 6, 7, 8-story building. You got dormers popping off the top. You know, it's ridiculous construction, and the fact that they would tear this down after 45 years, 46 years, makes zero sense unless they're trying to eliminate it. I think here's a rendering of what it would look like from the front. This is the city hall. Right, towers, and then this was the courthouse, which you'll see. But they got rid of the tower on the courthouse before they tore that down.
You know, the subject is crazy to me, just because like I've been looking a little bit, and we don't have to go down this, but I've just been doing research on this whole belief in the short season already taking place.
Yeah, we can go down that, sure.
And well, and I'm not well versed in it yet, and so like that's why I'm afraid to go too far into it, because I don't really know. I can't really speak as an authority on the matter at all. But to me, it's interesting because if you were to take everything that Jesus said at face value, which is, I know some people take a lot of pride in that when they, claim their Christianity. Man, it really does explain the short season, and the fact that Christ's reign of 1,000 years has already happened, and now we're living at this time where, I don't know, it's just it has struck a chord within me, and so I've been doing some research on the prophecy lines, because that's really what I'm curious about, because there's a belief that there was this period of break where Christ isn't doing anything. He's just letting all these kingdoms run amok for 2,000 years. And now this is the time period where, the rapture's coming or Armageddon's coming, and you see a real, like, especially in the Christian community. And, I don't want to speak like dogmatic, but I feel like every 20, 30 years, there's this big push of like, ooh, Israel might be crushed and might trigger the start of Armageddon.
Yeah.
And then you see all the Christians gather around in the corner with their fingers crossed and
Yeah.
sort of wanting to see it happen. And it doesn't happen.
You know what I like about the little season? It's the whole Antichrist thing is moot now, because you don't have to wait around for the Antichrist to come and do his thing. Instead of pointing at fingers of who it might be. I did a little bit of research on that. Have you heard of the Schofield Bible?
Yes.
Apparently, Rothschild connected Schofield Bible. That's basically apparently the backbone of the whole Armageddon has yet to happen. Comes from that.
And the Jehovah's Witness Bible, its early translations back, and I'm trying to remember back when they were translating, but it would have been their translation would have been 1920s to 1930s, but they always used the Westcott Hort Schofield as points of reference, which I thought was interesting, because the founder of that religion was a 33-degree Mason. And
I just need a firm date so I know to call in sick from work. That's all I'm asking. I just like a firm date so I can sit at home and enjoy just one last time.
Well, according to the short season, there is no Armageddon. It's already happened. These things have already taken place.
Yeah. That's why I like it.
It's we're in the time past that. So there was an Armageddon, and then all the good people got to live, and the belief, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but the belief is some of these beautiful superstructures we see were created during this time of peace and tranquility that the millennial reign talks about.
Yeah, the millennial reign.
Yeah. And so during the millennial reign, or when Christ has returned, the second coming of Christ, when this happened, and what's the time frame they believe this happened? It was 2,000 years ago or 1,000?
Well, so part of the problem is that we think we're 2,000 years away from Christ's birth, and people who've done research into the millennial reign are noticing that time has been added to our timeline. So more distance has been put between us and Christ's birth then I'm not saying I believe all of this. I'm just relaying because I don't know. I think
Right,
it's all
yeah.
interesting and it's all up for debate. But apparently, the timeline has been changed and altered to deceive us. And we're actually more in a year like 1200, 1250, and not to 2024 right now. Something along those lines, right? So it allows for the 1,000 years of the millennial reign, and then it also allows for the short season where Satan is loosed upon the world once again to reign over for a little season. And apparently we're coming to the end of the little season, according to people.
That's the season we're in. So Christ already came, ruled, life was great, and this is according to. And now I don't know if this is according to the Schofield Bible as far as their rendition of Armageddon, but Christ, after his 1,000-year reign, releases the devil onto the earth. He can only live in that sphere, and he causes havoc. And then after that period, the final judgment takes place. And the separation is complete, and then everyone goes where they're promised to go.
And then what the ruse is then is that Israel has been set up.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, that's the deception with the Schofield is that Armageddon hasn't happened yet. We're waiting for the Antichrist, and they're cheering on Armageddon because it means their Messiah is going to come, right? But that's the trick, apparently, with the wool being pulled over the eyes of the Christian Zionists, I guess.
Well, and it's not just a Christianity belief. I mean, that is all major religions believe that there is some sort of second coming and fiery judgment of enemies. And three of them believe it's all going to happen in their area. And as far as the religious beliefs, and you can't just I know the religious wing is not as large, but when it comes to American politics, I don't know if you've seen this, Chris, but there's been like this huge push of Christianity injected into the right wing version of politics. And it's just something to take note of because you're sort of seeing this resurgence. And, when it comes to TV style Christianity, that is just meant as a mind control trap. It's no different than sports at that point.
Yeah.
It's just there to make you feel good and not pay attention to what's really going on. That's the only purpose of that type of religious belief.
No, I hear you.
You brought up this one point here by who was that? Melted Reality?
Yeah, that's Mark.
I'll find it. You want me to?
Oh, yeah, about the Rothschild guy.
Yeah, that was interesting. I remember hearing about this.
First of all, 33. That's you'll hear that. That is a key number in any news report. If you're hearing something weird going on and you hear that number thrown into it, no agenda with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak taught me that 15 years ago. And you'll hear it now all the time whenever you hear that number. Now, I don't know if you heard the update about him. Not a Rothschild.
Oh.
Changed his name to Rothschild in 1985.
Does that still grandfather you in? Can we all do that? Can we just...
Is that the punishment for doing that?
Yeah. True.
Good point.
Also very wealthy, which how? There's no real explanation of this man's wealth. Had several houses. Neighbor was getting a roof redone and sent him a letter asking him, make sure it was okay because there might be some shingles that go on his side of the property line. Never heard a response. So he didn't figure the guy was even there. Didn't see any signs of life of the guy there. And now this fire breaks out and they find his body. Is this a lucky number 11 moment where you're trying to dispose of
Could very be
some weird stuff with that? This architecture right there, that's beautiful.
Corey, next time you'll go downtown, we were talking about this last time, just the vibe, the energies that you can feel off of some of these buildings is just it's weird. It's the tingle almost factor.
Check this one out. Yeah, you got to check this one out for sure. This one, there's
life in here.
Yeah, it's still there, and it's apparently you can look right down these little window wells, and it just goes. You can't even see the bottom of it. It's
Really? Okay,
30,
yeah,
40
we'll
feet.
get some videos of it.
So
Yeah,
Naomi in, fake like some kind of accident, and then just try to get your ass down. Go fast as you can, as many levels as you can.
Yeah.
Problem is, I have to get back up. You know.
No, you GoPro it, and we'll
Now
just
I've
live
walked
stream
past
it.
this building, this little theater building right here. This is quite the
Orpheum.
facade. Yes, that's quite the
Yeah.
facade in here.
Yeah.
That's still there.
Don't know. Is it still there? Yeah.
If I'm thinking it's the same building, it looks exactly like the building we walked past. You know, there's
It
a bunch
could be.
of tall buildings next to it now, but I'm pretty sure that is the same building. Was it the Orpheum? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Orpheum still.
Looks nice looking building for sure. Progress Club, they call this one, 1893.
What do we know about Orpheum? Like, who is Orpheum? What is that? Who is the man?
I think it means theater, doesn't it? I was going to do a video on Orpheums because there's tons of them, right? They're everywhere.
Yeah, Sioux City, Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Every place I've ever been. Same thing with the Carnegie Libraries. Like Vermilion, South Dakota had a Carnegie Library.
Well, you know the story on that, don't you? The Carnegie Libraries? Like he supposedly funded over 2,000 libraries in the States to get built.
Well, that's the story I was told. Yeah, there was a funding of these libraries, and they all look the same.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they're all sort of that red stone.
Somewhat, yeah. And then of course he filled them with the books that he wanted the people to read as well. Because
yes,
there's a library right there.
That's
Let's take a look.
Once again,
have you been to the train station there?
No, we haven't been to the train station yet. Now, there's some like weird fake art going on with that, isn't there? With the construction of it, from what I recall.
At the train station, you mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Probably. I was going to get to it in my file here, but I'm just sort of scrolling. This is the old Church of Christ Scientist.
Yeah, quite the church there now.
Yeah, you'll be surprised if you check out my KC video of the architecture that they had. It's pretty mind blowing. You know, because Kansas City, how big is it? Like, what's the population?
The population of Kansas City now. Well,
like roughly.
I think it's like 816,000. Like
okay, so it's a good sized city then. Good sized city for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that includes all the other little populations around it, but around there. Yeah, little. Oh yeah, over 1 million.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was surprised. Like it was more, as far as my research goes, it had a lot of old world for the size of the city that it was.
I apologize. It's the whole area there of that considers itself Kansas City is 2.3 million.
Okay. Yeah.
It's quite large now.
Look at this thing. This is the old Tower Theater, long gone, as far as I know. Look, had a tower on top.
And it's just,
that was crazy.
Almost like the building below it got retrofitted with a different design.
Yeah, you know that I think they flattened a lot of roofs off for sure. Yeah. This is the old Union Depot, so the old train station, right? And that's just like that's early too, right? Early in the narrative, this one will be and long gone, I think. I like they show us the pictures with the rubble in the foreground too. Like they're not even really hiding that they're.
Yeah, where are the people? This is like a busy train station, right?
Yeah, there's horses. There's 2 horses with their carts.
Yeah. Was this like the photographer just yelling at people? Gah!
Yeah, get inside. I'm taking a picture.
Did you see any people look at the windows in this thing?
Yeah.
Got to be someone peeking through. Why is it a big deal? Guy taking pictures middle of the day.
Well, look what they do at the top here. Like this is like I always kind of approach it from my my trade background. It's like you're gonna tell me we're gonna cap this little dormer off with this little like why the hell are we doing this? Just for visual sake? Yeah. That's what gets me with when I do my research. I'm like, it makes no sense. The amount of extra work it would take to do all this up here.
And all of these little windows are archways. They've got these little copper balls or, like brass. I don't know what material it's made out of. I would assume copper.
Yeah, no, real metals, real stones, real brick, and 1870s, 1880s. This is all early time period, right? So it's Here's the one that exists now, I think. The Union, the current Union Station, which is kind of reminds me of some of those other, bigger ones that I've come across. Cincinnati's got a big one, and Washington D.C.'s got a really vacuous ceiling, like however many foot ceiling. There's the inside of it. You got to get down there and check this one out too. Get me some boots on the ground footage, and I'll put it on my channel.
All right. Yeah. We'll get it for you. Fantom Facts on a mission.
All right. So there's a little peek. There's a KC file. That's all. That's good for now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. Listen, I thought this was interesting. People bringing up this one about Solomon sent Israelites to Lebanon to learn skills of trade, woodworking and such.
Oh.
Samson. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to see that. I think it's interesting because, as I understand the Masonic belief, and here we go. As I understand the Masonic belief, they believe that they have the wisdom given to King Solomon. I don't know if you know the account of King Solomon, but he's known as Wise King Solomon. Well, the reason he's known as Wise King Solomon is early on in the Bible, it talks about he's just new ruler. Dad is dead. God comes to him in a dream and says, "Hey, what do you want? Riches? Do you want power? What can I help you out here with?" And Solomon goes, "I want wisdom, because I have no clue what I'm doing." And God goes, "Well, since you asked for wisdom, I'll give you wisdom, riches, and all this." And that's the official account in the Bible. Now, according to Masonic belief, the wisdom that was taught to King Solomon was mysticism, the use of words to control or to summon. And this is what was passed on through the Masonic belief, was the ability to summon spirits to build these structures. And Aleister Crowley took that belief and twisted it into summoning spirits through sex acts. But if you look at the base allegation of what the Masons believe, is they can summon these spirits to perform building these superstructures. Now, I'm not saying I believe that, but that's from everything I've researched about it. That's the belief that's been passed on. That's why there's such emphasis on the front pillars of Solomon's temple.
I'll share. I just did a recent interview with Michelle Gibson. I know you don't know who she is, but a lot of people in the chat will, and she's a pretty deep researcher into the old world. And we got into Crowley, Aleister Crowley, and part of her theory and her research leads her to believe that Crowley in particular is responsible for a ritual or ceremony that actually altered our timeline and allowed them to change the course of history. And the timeline we're on right now is the Rothschild-Rockefeller timeline. That's a part of the Crowleyan ritual that opened up that whatever you want to call it. So it's really interesting, an interesting concept.
We did a whole episode on Crowley back in the beginning, and I have a crap ton of show notes which you can look on in Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast, because it's not video, it's only audio. But I share all of my show notes, and what I realized about Crowley was he was like he was what was it, Julia Child, the French cook. She wasn't really a French cook. She just transcribed French cooking so English people could cook like French people. And Aleister Crowley, that's what he was doing. He found all of he was part of the heretic order of the Golden Dawn or whatever it was called. And this power of summoning was taught to him, and he realized that through these spells like you're talking about, and there's very weird links, because Aleister Crowley, he talks about in his book about like the top spell, which would summon this demon called it was like Elon, or I can't Elon, or I can't remember the name. He said that it was successfully practiced 190 times And what was required for it was to sacrifice a child that was 9 years in age, a boy. And that is how you, along with some other stuff, and that was how you summoned this spirit. And what's interesting about this order he was a part of, the hotel where their lobby was located, its sister was built in L.A., Hotel Cecil. And there's a young woman there that died, Eliza Alon or whatever it was, but it was that demon that was summoned by Aleister Crowley. Her name backwards, and you see her disappear. Yeah, you see it, dude. Shivers up your back as you're discovering these links, and then you discover that our modern day politicians are all believers in this. So whether you believe in the supernatural aspect of it or not, there are people in power that are just gobble this stuff up. And to me, if they're in power, then there's got to be like some
power to it. Some power to it. Yeah, I hear you.
I'd love to talk to her about that and go over notes. But anyway, that's for another day. Dude, Chris, thank you so much for coming on our show. Chris number 2 had to leave, but appreciate you staying on a little bit later, bringing your fans over. Loved all the comments in the chat. Everyone was great on there. So,
yeah,
anything you would like to promote before we bad boy out of this? We always finish with a clip from the Kiffness, of course.
Oh yeah. I got lots of stuff on the go. Everything can be found on my YouTube channel. So it's all good. Yeah, people will know where to find me. Then you'll know what's coming down the pike. So appreciate you having me.
Chris from Old World Exploration. Thanks so much again, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks.
I got my balls to my butt.